Hello everybody, how are you doing? This is S. Anthony Thomas. This is the S. Anthony Thomas Show, and I've got an interesting story to tell you about childhood dreams and how dogs and cats, as much as I love them, can be evil backstabbers. Yeah, I said it. You're gonna love this, so let's get rid of this intro and get right to the show. Are you ready? Cool. Let's do it. Hey guys, this is the S. Anthony Thomas Show. This is S. Anthony Thomas. Let's just dive right into it. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know if you're the kind of person that knew really, really early what you wanted to do with your life or what you wanted your career to be. You know, every kid has, I want to be a fireman, I want to be this, I want to be that. And then when they get older, life pushes them in a different direction. And it was just a kid seeing a hero and wanting to be a hero. I want to be a cowboy. You know, you weren't going to be any daggone cowboy, okay? So when I was a kid, I always wanted to do pretty much what I'm doing now, even though 40-something years ago, there were no podcasts, there was no internet, there was no home computers, there was none of that crap. In fact, I used to do little shows, literally little shows with cassette tapes. Yep, the same crap I'm doing right now as an adult, I was doing back then. But since the industry didn't exist at that time, you can't tell your parents and your grandparents and your uncles and aunts what you want to do. Right? They'll look at you like, hey, that industry doesn't exist yet. What is this, 40 years from now, you dummy? They would not say that. But the thing is, I also had this thing where I would literally nerd it up on something if I found it interesting. I would try to gather as much information on it as possible just because I wanted to know about it. Not because I wanted to have that as a career, but because I found it fascinating. And at that particular time, what I found fascinating was animal programs, you know. I'd always watch the shows where the lions would eat something, or I always would gravitate to the snake shows and all of that kind of crap. I loved it. And I read the encyclopedia for fun. Yes, Nerd City, I know. Shut up, don't judge me. Back to the story. So when they saw me pretty much nerding it up on animals, they just assumed I wanted to be a veterinarian. Assumed. But realizing I was just nerding it up on something. So, what happened was I got an internship at the zoo. It was a gift from my family. And I'm glad, even though I did not have any interest in doing that as a career, I did love animals, still do. Did the internship at the zoo, met my first white friends, right? A diverse group of people. Had a lot of fun, had full access to the zoo down in Philadelphia. Loved it. Got to pet the animals, right? Yeah, I was one of those kids that got to hold the, you know, there was this thing where where the person would talk about different animals and you would hold the animal up and control the animal and you'd walk around and they would pet the animal. I held the boa constrictor. I was the kid holding the boa constrictor around my neck, controlling the head of the boa constrictor, and then they would pet the boa constrictor and then I'd put the boa constrictor in the bag or whatever was going on there, right? They had the tarantula. I got to hold the tarantula. Okay, I shouldn't say got to hold the tarantula. I was stuck holding the tarantula because I wanted to hold the snake, but the tarantula, no. But I did it anyway because I was like, look, this is probably never going to happen again. I might as well get it done now. I'm going to hold this tarantula and I'm not going to be afraid of it. So I just did all that kind of stuff. And it was fun. Didn't want to do it for a career, but it was fun. I'm glad I was doing it. I'm glad I was there. It was fantastic. One of my favorite memories from my childhood. One of my favorites. But it's amazing how when you nerd it up on something and someone from the outside sees you nerding it up, they think that's what you want to do. But it was also funny as well. Because what happened was there was a place, the children's zoo, inside the zoo. And there was a place where you got to feed the animals. You got to feed the animals. They give you a little, one of those, you know, those ice cream cones, right? Like the kind that you would eat, but it was a real ice cream cone. And they would put some food in it for the sheep and the little rams that were in there. And you'd walk in there. And those animals were so used to people coming in there. They were harmless completely. Very nice animals. But just like people, animals also have personalities. There's some people you should just not mess with under any circumstances. They're cool unless you mess with them, and animals are exactly the same way. These sheep were sweethearts, but there was a couple of them, and the people that worked there or interned there, like in my case, knew which ones they were. Right? You knew not to mess with Benny. He's back there, and he'd look at you like, you work here. You're all right. I'm not going to knock you down. right? Long as you know not to mess with me, Jack. Just give me my zoo cake, feed me, give me my water. You can pep me a couple of times and then back off, punk. That's what that Benny was like. Yeah, that's right. So we were there with a bunch of kids, and a little girl comes in there, and I'm looking and going, why is she wearing like Sunday church clothes at the zoo, and we're in the animal section? I can understand if she's out there during the show petting the animals, but this is, we got sheep in here that are running around. It's not the best smelling place. She's got a white dress on, nice little shoes, right? And the family standing there, oh, go ahead in there and play with the animals, huh? The little brother came in. He always gave them instructions. Okay, hold the food up high until you're absolutely going to feed one of the sheep, and if there's a bunch of sheep around, hold the food up and get out of from among the sheep, and then find one and then feed that sheep. You told them that because it was good advice, because you didn't want a bunch of sheep knocking the kid over. Little boy was like, I'm not trying to get knocked over. So he did he was exactly what he was told. Held the food up. He's laughing. Sheep, I love him. He petted them. The sheep loved it. He walked around, and then when there was a smaller amount of sheep, he put the food down. The sheep came up and ate it, and then he got a little freaked out because now all of a sudden it was 2, then 3, then 4, and he just kind of dropped it down. And the sheep went and ate the food on the floor, and he goes, hey, almost like, well, I did it. And he walked back out to the parents, and the little girl goes, I want to feed the sheep too. And they're like, well, this kind of why we put you in there, kid, really, seriously, right? But she doesn't want to hold the thing up, right? And then the sheep are around it, and she goes, okay, I'll do, and you can see she's going, I'm going to do what my brother did. So she walks away from the sheep, and there's one sheep, and I'm looking at the sheep, and I couldn't tell which one it was. It was Benny. Oh, but Benny's been cool. Benny's been cool. He hasn't done anything. Benny has been cool. Benny has been cool. Has been cool. Usually cool. But as I said before, do not mess with Benny. But she messed with Benny. Oh no. Right? She decides that she puts the food down by Benny. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's what you're supposed to. I figure Benny's going to eat the food. That'll be it. But then Benny would try to bite the food. She'd hold it back up high. Oh. You're probably only going to get one more of those, and I'm too far away to stop this from happening. I start walking over towards her. I'm thinking, well, she's not an idiot. She's not going to keep doing that. That she was an idiot. She goes down with the little ice cream cone full of food Benny hadn't eaten yet. Benny was in the back chilling. She puts the thing down. Benny goes, oh, this is okay. Okay, she played one time, not a big deal. She does it again, and Benny kind of looks up at her like, yeah, you got about one more of those in there, mama. One more of those in there, Jack. One more. All right, she goes back down. Benny Benny starts to actually bite the ice cream cone and eat the food, which is a little zoo cake in there. Fantastic. I'm thinking, okay, that's good. The crisis averted. She snatches it out of his mouth and holds it back up. Then she looks back at her family, and her family's kind of laughing. And then they go, well, you know what? Don't do that. Just they're about to scold her in a nice way. But what she doesn't realize is Benny's backing up a little bit, right? Now, there's the kind of way a sheep will back up to let you know that the sheep's like, I'm getting out of the situation. I'm backing up and I'm leaving. I'm not dealing with this. But Benny did not back up in a way that made you think he was not going to deal with it. It made you think he was about to deal with it. Benny backed up. She's still looking at her family, and they're like, be nice to the sheep. Don't do it. It's not messing with the sheep. That's what her brother said. And Benny was like, nah, Jack, y'all need to shut up. I'm about to deal with this right now, Jack. And Benny ran towards her as she's turning around. Bow! Knocks her on the ground. She slides a little bit. Now her pretty white dress is mud covered. Ooh. And she starts crying a little bit. And if you've been around kids, you can tell when they're crying because they're injured, and then they're crying because they're scared, and when they're crying because they're embarrassed. She was the last two of those, not the first one. She wasn't injured. She was scared and embarrassed. Mostly embarrassed because her brother was trying his best. I think he probably pulled neck muscles trying not to laugh, because he started to laugh and his parents looked at him like, I know you're not laughing. And he went, I guess I'm not. But guess what? They weren't my parents. I walked around to the back of the barn. Let me go help out with the horses and laugh hard. Right? I come back after I'm laughing and they're brushing dirt off. It doesn't matter. She's got mud in her clothes, right? And they're at first, these are the kind of parents you're expecting to go, I'm going to sue the zoo and get you. But they also knew that their daughter was an idiot. So they're like, look, you probably shouldn't have done that. They told you not to do that. And let's just leave. Right? Internship at the zoo. There were many stories like that. Some I can't tell because I don't remember them because I'm getting old. Just kidding. I just don't want to tell them yet. I'm going to milk those for other episodes. Don't judge me. But the thing is, I've always loved animals. Always have. Especially cats and dogs for the most part. But there was a couple of cats and dogs from my neighborhood that lived by me that were the exception to the rule. Under normal circumstances, if I see a dog that's the kind of dog you can pet, I hug the dog, love the dog, rub the dog, want to play with the dog, roll around with the dog, with the cats, I pick up the cats, I rub the cats, I play with the cats, love cats, love them, love them, love them. Everybody that knows me knows that. But my old neighborhood, the cats, those rotten sons of, I'm not going to say that, rotten scumbags. Other people were not nice to the cats. Other people, they didn't hit the cats, they didn't hurt the cats, but they did not allow, like if the cat decided to fall asleep on their car cover, they didn't put up with that crap. They came out with the buck, with the cup of cold water, blow, and they would throw the cup of cold water on the cat, and the cat would go, that must be an aberration. I'm sure that the person didn't mean to do that. Get back up on the car, the person come back with an even bigger cup of water, says, blow, and all of a sudden the cat's like, I'm starting to get the feeling this person is not like me sleeping on their car cover. And then they'd sleep on the porch or try to sleep on the porch. The person would come out with a little spray bottle. Cat would step off. Dang, I can't even sleep. I don't like that person. Right? And they knew better than to mess with that person. They didn't touch that person's stuff at all. Actually, I saw one cat, literally, I'm not even exaggerating, walking down the street, got to the place where there was a person that kept spraying it with water, literally walked out into the street until they were past that person's house, walked back out from the street back onto the sidewalk and continued. That person that told that cat through his or her actions, don't want to identify them, you don't need to be around my property, punk, and the cat knew better. But I was nice to the cat. I didn't, if the cat slept on my car cover, I don't give a crap. What difference does it make? So the cat got used to sleeping on my car cover. Right? If the cat slept on my steps, I just step over the cat. I don't give a crap. It's not like the cat was dookie on my spot. I'd have a problem with that, but the cat never did that. You know, sometimes the cat sleep on the porch. Didn't give a crap. I was nice to the cat, right? A couple of times I threw the cat a little bit of grub, gave the cat a little bit of water action. I'm nice to the cat. And how did the neighborhood cat repay my kindness? That rotten little mother jumper. Everybody puts out their trash at the same time, and some people put out their trash and, you know, nothing would happen to their trash. But because the cat was always on my property and I allowed the cat to be on my property and I treated the cat with respect, the little piece of crap, you know what happened? The cat would tear open my trash, and when the trash people would come, they'd look at me like, you dumb scumbag, because they'd have to take off that little shovel off the side of the truck and sweep up the trash and throw it. And it was almost like I was causing them extra work, but it wasn't me. It was the cat. And because people see the cat so comfortable on the porch, they just, or on my car, they would just assume, oh, your cat did it. You should be out here doing it, not us. Ooh, that cat was a piece of crap. And I didn't want to be mean to the cats. But I didn't want to spray water on the cat. I'm not going to do that crap. I had to shoot the cat. Shoo, cat, shoo. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Get out of here, cat. And all of a sudden, the cat's like, you too, you punk. You make me sick, human. Cat looked up at me, and I'm telling you, I think the cat said the N-word. I'm like, I didn't even know cats could do that. Now I'm going to get a bucket of water, cat. That is just, you just said the N-word. The cat did not say the N-word. But if the cat could say the N-word, it would have said it. Rotten cats. And I'm thinking it's the end of it. I'm thinking that's the end of it. Oh no, that evil little piece of crap got together with some other cats and set me up. Set me the heck up, you little mother jumper. You see, back then at the time, there was some people would have their dogs running around, and you had literally, there was enough dogs running around, maybe like one or two dogs, and they would bark at you, but they wouldn't attack you. But there was one that literally would attack you, right? It would try to bite you and stuff like that. But when you saw all the cats around, you didn't think the dogs were around because you figured the first thing that the dog is going to attack is cats. So when you walk out to your car and you see the cats running around, hey, there's no dogs. They could hear the dogs coming. They could smell the dogs coming. And if the cats weren't around, or if the cats were up in a tree, you knew the dog was in the vicinity. So I'm walking to my car and I'm fine. I ain't thinking anything about the dogs. I see the cats around. They're not on my property because I shoot them away, and the cats were sitting on the ground. Right? And all of the people started coming. Hey, the cats are out. I guess that means the stray dogs aren't running around biting people. This is fantastic. Yeah. And then we noticed that the two cats kind of looked at each other. We're thinking that they're going to fight. And then they looked at each other. And then they looked at us. And they looked back at each other. And then they looked at us. Right? And then I saw the cats walking away slowly. Not a big deal. And then I saw a dog standing between the two cats. And then I saw the dog hand the two cats some cat money. And then the cats pointed at me and the other people, and the cat made the throat slash gesture, and I'm going, oh no, the cat set us up. And the dog runs trying to bite everybody. I jumped into my car, everybody else ran into the house. Rotten little pieces of crap. Dogs running around trying to bite people. I got in my car and drove away. When I came back, it was even worse. Right? I came back, I literally smelled gunfire. People had fired guns. As it turns out, the dogs were so busy attacking people that somebody had to call the police. And the police had to shoot at the dogs. The police actually popped the dogs, capped them a little bit, didn't kill them, but did put bullets in their asses. Sorry about saying that word, but they deserved it. They tried to bite me. The hell with them. You could smell the smoke, right? And then you see the police officers with the white shirts on. Every time you see police officers with white shirts on, it means somebody got shot because higher-ups have shown up, that kind of thing. And those dogs, as it turns out, those cats in their attempt to set us up to get bit, actually got those dogs shot. And those dogs, as it turns out, the dogs were fine. They didn't get permanently injured. They had to go to the hospital and have a couple of, bullets taken out of their butts, but they lived, and then the people that owned the dogs, they were found and fined, and the dogs were taken away to a shelter and then picked up by people who weren't pieces of crap, and the dogs got taken someplace with loving families. But I don't forget. I don't forget what those cats did, little rotten mother jumpers. And every time we saw them after that, we looked at them like, you tried to get us bit, didn't you? Yeah, that's right. Right? And there was some other people who were still nice to the cats. But as the cats came down the block trying to find a car to sit on, everybody came out on their porch as a group, as a unit, and everybody, including myself, we had spray bottles with water on it. And every time the cat even thought about trying to come on one of our property, we aimed that spray bottle at him. We didn't shoot the cats with the spray bottle. We just sprayed water right in front of the cats. Don't even think about it, punks. And the cats looked at us like, oh, we have no place here to sit. We have to go back to the block where we came from. And the cats looked at each other as if to say, we went too far. We went too far. We shouldn't have tried to get these people bit. I definitely shouldn't have let that incredibly handsome man who has a podcast 10 years from now, I definitely shouldn't have done anything to him. Cats can see the future. They knew I was going to have a podcast 10 years after that. No, they did not. And then they walked away, and those cats never came back. And as a celebration, we all ran down in front of our houses and shot water into the air to celebrate the evil set-up cats trying to get us bit with their little punk behinds. Yeah, I said it. And even after almost getting bit by them dogs and getting set up by those little punk cats, I still love animals. But when I see a dog and a cat now, I look at them with a little bit of a side eye. Especially if the dog and cat aren't attacking each other. If they're not fighting, I'm going, wait a minute. You guys are supposed to not like each other unless you were put in the same house by the same people and you were put together as puppies and kittens and grew up knowing each other and not just assuming you should attack each other. Why is a stray dog and a stray cat sitting there being all friendly? You ain't fooling me, punk. I know a setup when I see one. So I'm about to end this podcast, but I just want to say one thing. If you're walking down the street and you see a dog and a cat next to each other and the dog's not chasing the cat or the cat's not chasing the dog, trust me, I'm telling you right now, those two little pieces of crap are trying to set something up. Don't be surprised if later on that night you don't see on the news,
Hi, on the news tonight, a little rotten punk cat and a piece of crap dog put these masks on and robbed a liquor store. I don't even know why they're in the liquor store, because, cats don't drink alcohol and neither do dogs. But as it turns out, they just robbed that store so they could get some more money to buy weapons, and then they went on a crime spree stealing catnip and kennel ration from mom and pop stores all around the city. Do you know this dog and cat? Here are the pictures. If you know them, please call this number. It's a $500 reward for their capture. Yeah, that also did not happen. But I'm telling you right now, if you see a dog and a cat talking, those little pieces of crap are trying to set something up. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. That's my lesson to you. Thanks for listening. If you love this podcast, and you do me a favor, my friends, tell your friends about this podcast. Rate and review this podcast. Spread the word about this podcast. This podcast is called The S. Anthony Thomas Show. And if you love this podcast, do the same thing with my other podcast, my original podcast called S. Anthony Says. I would appreciate it, just like I appreciate you coming back every week to hear me tell really stupid stories. Much love to you, everybody. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. All right, everybody, thank you for coming back. Much love to you, and I will see you again next time. Take care.